Cool.
All right, we are live. Welcome to the third meeting of the August and Beneficent Synedrium Astral with the beloved Lords Temporal and Eternal of the Sacred High Houses Imperial, servants of the most serene Celestial Emperor. Long may they reign, shepherds of the Acheron Rose Sector and guardians of the righteous. Was not as fluid as last time. Oh well. We're going to do a quick roll call here to make sure that all the houses are present, but I'll turn that over to the speaker to do so.
See, it's not only me that messes up everything that is supposed to be said. So, just to go over, we need just a roll call from everyone from their houses. We'll go quickly down the list. Give me 1 second to get the list. Aquila?
Yep, Tribune Aquila, Acidia Righteous is there.
Okay, thank you and welcome. Eridanus?
Yeah.
Can we get your name?
Oh, sorry. Before just doing a normal roll call. Trevix, Eridanus, Klaus Navillion.
Okay, thank you. Lyra?
Hecate Lyra Cactica.
Okay, thank you very much for coming. Pixis?
Oh, yep, it's Orator of the South, Voidwalker, Von Arlington, Octavius.
Okay, I've heard stories about you.
I should hope so.
Reticulum?
Shinkan Reticulum Pert.
Okay, welcome again. Serpens is myself, High Nominator Ophidian Ivor. And Triangulum?
Yeah, Paraphysic Triangulum, Bradley Cohen.
Okay, thank you. At that point, I think that's everyone in every house.
I think it is. So every house is present. That means we have a quorum of 7, so we'll require five votes to pass any measure. I'm going to provide a quick diplomatic update so that everybody here is on the same page with all of the other factions and how we're doing. And that way, when the video goes out, everybody listening will know sort of what we knew diplomacy-wise at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing is we'll give an update for House Vela. So House Vela has finished their vote by the time we held our meeting. They will be using assets for their action. The things relevant for us is they're going to be using their covert transit net to move a counterintelligent unit to Lodestone. And they're also going to be moving a demagogue to Imperial Prime. They will also be providing some portion of fat creds to help pay Deathless. That'll be figured out once we actually know the final cost. House Crux is going to be moving their psychic assassins to Tootham to make an attack action this turn. That's my understanding, and they are paying for the majority of the Deathless contract this turn. They've offered as much credits as they can provide, but it has been raised that if Vagrant builds a BOI, they will be down 1 fat cred because they will have to pay the pirate cost. House Fornax, the only relevant information is they'll also provide some fat creds to help pay for Deathless, as well as they're moving a strike fleet into orbit around, is it Dio Mikado?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then the High Church actually conveniently just gave us a final update. They will be moving their commodities brokum to Tootham, and I believe that means the demagogue will end up on Tiber. They're very unlikely to actually take the attack option, but if we take the option to borrow that commodities broker from them either next turn or turn 3, it gives us an option to add to our attacks. And commodities broker is a wealth attack, so that's the best thing for us to hit Vagrant with. Let's see, Deathless, we went with Plan A at the end of the council vote, so that means Deathless will be taking the attack action. Final cost will be determined after the turn because we pay per attack, and they clarified for us that if they were making an attack, like if Vagrant makes a BOI and they succeed on the cunning test to be able to make an attack, they will take that advantage. We will just have to pay for the extra attack, which we told them we were fine with. And then any other factions for quick updates here. Acre is just still preliminary talks, nothing for this turn. Trilliant was the same thing. Prism has decided to back out of our alliance. I know a couple of slates included that they might be joining us, so they are not as of this moment. They've told us they are aiming for neutrality, but we'll see what happens.
Time will prove otherwise.
We'll figure it out. And then we're in basic talks with CHR as well, but nothing relevant for this turn to report. We did, as a council, we did use some diplomatic maneuvering to figure out individuals' factions' turn orders. So I'd like to take a quick vote to see if everybody's fine releasing that publicly. Obviously, it'll come out, but this video will be released before the end of the thing, so I don't just want to say it unless if people don't want me to.
So just to confirm, this video is coming out during the faction turn?
I believe so. I believe so. So I don't think it's... But
if it's coming out after the lock-in, I don't see an issue with it.
Yeah, same here.
Agreed.
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 I do not agree, but it sounds like I'm in the minority.
I believe that was 4 agrees and 1 no.
Should we just do a
Yeah,
down vote and
just
notice?
do a quick Discord note, and we'll put votes in.
There you go. It's set up. I didn't bother to actually name the vote. It just says vote.
This is whether we should mention...
Just to give a
turn orders,
rundown of the tournament.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, whether or not we will just go through the turn order as we believe it to be.
Oh,
Please,
maybe not then.
I'm going to change my vote to no then, because I'm not sure we should be sharing other people's turn orders
Yeah, I
necessarily.
don't think we should.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay, yeah.
Because they asked us not to share them publicly necessarily.
Also,
It was my understanding that this was coming out when I brought this up. It was my understanding that this was coming out. What's it called? At the when the stream was happening. So therefore, the turn orders would have already been shared. Therefore, not information that is.
No, I get that. The information would no longer be
of
valuable.
them sharing it with us that I don't want to release.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
yeah.
We can clarify with allies next turn
Yes.
for better clarification.
Yeah, I also think it's beneficial that we don't say that we, every turn can figure out what place everyone's going.
Oh, no. I wasn't trying to imply that. I was implying we had figured out some information for this turn, and it was just making sure we were all on the same page on what we were sharing.
Yeah, understood.
Also, secondary thing, can we make sure that only the primary roles are present? Because I can see 3 different Pixies people in here, and I don't want
It's fine if people are in here, just only one person should vote.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm just making sure that the other Pixies people in here, or whatever secondary person in here for other houses, that it's only the primary people that are voting, so it doesn't skew what the numbers are.
I will check for clarity's sake.
Yep.
So no worries there.
Yeah, everyone on this server is decently trustworthy. So, aside from our peanut butter lovers.
So
How
just
long-
to interject to that horrible slander, I mentioned it in the minor cancel chat, but check the commodities, or the compromise document right now. I've simplified all the slates into what I think everyone effectively is doing. Check your thing to make sure it is representative. If I screwed it up, let me know, or fix it yourself. I just tried to make it.
We can leave out lodestone movements because that has already been voted on.
Yeah, I included them just because some people had a specific location, but don't worry about that. Everything else is kind of the Space Marines and the factories and Book of Secrets and commodities brokers are what I kind of wanted to include because that's the relevant stuff.
So I'm going to give a quick rundown here. My apologies to those of you watching the recording. I don't have it set up to be able to share this document in my capture. I didn't think about that beforehand, but I'll think about it for next time. So no worries there. So I will just go ahead and read out the current, everybody agreed to this in their proposals. We will be using the use asset ability. All 7 factions presented that action. We will be rolling both of our pre-tech manufactories. We will roll the commodities broker and lodestone, as Pix has mentioned, they get the final say on where it goes. It's easier to treat it that way than a veto power. And I believe it was voted on that you all are going to 0604.
Pixis.
Yeah. Ellington, is that correct? If you need to go double check the vote, that's fine. But
Sorry, could you just repeat that really quickly? I was just talking to my son.
yeah, no worries. We were told lodestone is moving to 0604.
I believe so, yes.
All right. Thank you. So this time, I'll turn it back over to you, Ivor, as the speaker, and you can sort of run the conversation for what else is left.
Okay. So at the moment, we have what's confirmed. The use asset ability is confirmed. I think a good thing to go down is understanding what the reasoning for each actions and what like tactics defensively or offensively we are planning on taking with this use asset ability. Like what is this setting up to do in the next upcoming turns? I think Aquila, your faction turn submitted was under the premise that Prism was going to be in our workings and like as an ally. But since that is not the case, does your faction turn still stand? Is there still parts of your faction turn that you want to discuss? Or at this point in time, are you willing to like cede your time to another house?
I mean, some parts of it can still be discussed, but I mean, we're willing to concede most of it, I think.
Okay, so the parts that you're willing to discuss, can you name them out? Like, is it the pre-tech manufactory and the Book of Secrets? Because that seems to be like a really a divisive point where we're all like, some of us want the pre-tech manufactory to move, some of us only want the Book of Secrets to move.
Yeah, that could be one thing. Also, potentially moving the Space Marines to Tiber instead of Amori, but yeah.
Okay. So I think yeah, we'll just go down the list. We'll start with the Amori. I was misreading, did not see that Tiber and Amori were two different things in my brain. So what is your reasoning for moving the Space Marines to Tiber, if I may ask?
Well, on Tiber we have the Commodities Broker, which is one of our most valuable money assets. Leaving that without adequate protection would be bad in case of vagrants attack there. It does leave Amori without sufficient protection, which is a flaw.
Okay. Does any other house want to like comment specifically on why they have moving the Space Marines to Amori?
I mean, I'll throw in just that Amori has no defender and needs one, and Space Marines is a competent single defender.
Okay.
And
I'll
then-
see if I can find the numbers we ran on Space Marines against the Vagrant stack, but if I remember correctly, against the 4 Vagrant units, just Space Marines prevents the Reticulum BOI from dying 80-something% of the time, and does a pretty solid counterattack, so it's probably the strongest single unit defender we have, even more so than Secrets.
Yeah, and that doesn't leave Dio Mikado undefended because Fornax is stepping in to provide that defense.
Yes, there's a 15.3% chance of the base of influence dying with the 4 Vagrant units versus Space Marines by itself.
Yeah, which is not amazing. I would personally love to see lower numbers than that, but
that is the absolute worst case scenario.
Right.
Okay, so it's strange because we kind of already have a quorum on the Space Marines to Amori. It seems from what I'm looking at, it's like 5 to 2. Am I using that word right? I don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh well, we meet our voting parameters of 5 out of 7. That's probably closer. So what I'm trying to understand is, and my specific like the Serpent's action slate for Space Marines not moving was under the assumption that like Vagrant and Prism were going to be, or that was going to happen, and the general defense was something we needed to think about more overall as opposed to specific on Reticulum's planet. So I'm willing to side with the Amori if we have that like 80% like worst case scenario, Space Marines and everything just get like blown up there. But yeah, I'm just willing to just side with that vote and make as a compromise.
Yep, that's fine with Aquila.
Okay. Now the Book of Secrets and Pre-Tech Manufacturer switch. I know as a Serpents rep, I'm kind of biased on this, but Serpents itself does not want to be asset list. We don't want to have a gamble on whether or not we go first on the next turn in case the UPC decide to do something.
Reticulum also does not want it to be assetless.
Yeah, Triangulum also thinks that seems reasonable, and themselves have suggested swapping the factory.
Yeah, I think
To
it's...
leave that there.
Yeah, I think swapping the factory is the most reasonable way to go about it.
Likewise.
From the places that are saying not to move, Eridanis, Lyra, do you have any reasonings, or is it?
I would say Lyra is open to discussion and like listening to whatever other opinions there are. We're very flexible on these notes.
Yeah, I think Serpent's main opinion is that for the amount of money that we're spending to move it, it is an amount of money, but it is not a significant amount. Placing those pre-tech manufacturers into a place that allows for them to be defended, but after further diplomatic communications, it seems that Proa is seemingly in a precarious place, but with the conversations with Acre has made it seem that we have nothing to worry about Acre doing anything to Proa. Whereas the UPC seemingly have more of a beef with Acre than they do with Roa. So eventually we will have to deal with that issue. But at this point in time, we are in a safe place.
So just for some of the numbers with the manufacturer and Book of Secrets, with some of the sims we did, a Book of Secrets is within rounding errors of as effective a defender as a pre-tech manufactory against the Vagrant stack. It basically can soak the same amount of damage, but also has a 2d8 counterattack. Additionally, I don't remember who it was who brought this up, but someone mentioned that if we do move the Book of Secrets onto a location that has a factory, we can, on turn 1, use the Book of Secrets ability on a factory roll. So that gives us the opportunity to potentially get a little bit more money if we're lucky, because there's no other action that we would need to use the Book of Secrets ability on this turn.
We could use it on the brokers, but we're not guaranteed to buy something next turn, so I agree that the factory would make more sense. And obviously, the brokers in the book would need to be in the same location for that to work.
Yeah, I was going to say, it would require the commodities brokers to also move, but...
Right, which is actually in the Triangulum slate, but we're very flexible on that.
So just since we're on that topic and it's moving towards that, can Triangulum comment on that? It seems like it's a something specific to the Triangulum slate.
Sure, yeah, this came up during house discussion about it, even though it's technically a slightly like a worse defensive combo for the planet. There's a slightly higher chance that something takes damage. There was talk that combining them in the same location gives you 2 advantages. One, you get essentially a free counterattack from the commodities broker. If you're defending with the broker and something attacks it, and you reroll a hit into a miss with the book, then that's a free counterattack against that thing that attacked the commodities broker. When you have a factory and you reroll a hit into a miss, all you get is a miss, which is still fantastic, but it's not free damage. The other thing that we discussed was that having them in the same location would make it cheaper on the following turn to make a fadeaway strike on Tootham, to move them to Tootham, hit something, and move back, and use the book to reroll that hit if we needed to. But those are options, and what saves us money now might cost us more money later, and vice versa. So just because we're not putting them together now doesn't mean we can't stack them together later. It'll just cost us an extra credit later when we do it instead of costing us now. So yeah, really only the counterattack thing is the thing that really matters. And it's a cool idea and it's a cool combo, but we absolutely don't have to do it.
So if I may ask, Kurt, has the reticulum data mining brain that you have run the odds on the commodities broker, the damage that the commodities broker and Book of Secrets would be able to cause? Is it like a significant? Is it? My question is.
Yeah, I know what you're asking.
If Pixis attacks are they going to lose something if we have just the Book of Secrets there, or do we need to have the Book of Secrets and the commodity brokers to have them to lose something?
Well, Pixis is going to lose everything if they attack us. But
so I'm so sorry. Freudian slip. Pixis asked me so many lore questions to send to Adam that I just want to put my boot on their neck.
No, okay, so
Whoa.
It's a joke.
So,
I love all of you.
My counter argument to what Riley mentioned is, ultimately, I think if we have a Book of Secrets anywhere, we're going to attempt to defend with it first until it takes a damage. And if it ever has a roll against it that is successful, we will attempt to re-roll it. And the Book of Secrets has a better counterattack than a Commodities Broker does.
Oh, is it better? I thought it was the same. You're right, that is better. That's twice.
Commodities Broker is only 1d8 and Book of Secrets is 2d8. So my understanding is if we were ever defending a planet where the Book of Secrets was, we would defend attacks with the Book of Secrets until it took a hit. And that hit would always be attempted to be re-rolled first because its counterattack would be more advantageous. And then if it took damage, we'd stop defending with it.
I think the house was primarily worried that it could be lost in one hit if it was hit by a demagogue, which that is true, right? I guess it's unlikely.
It is absolutely possible.
Yeah. And then so they were suggesting that we wouldn't defend with it because we were too afraid of losing it. But you're not wrong that defending with the book itself until it takes a hit is a good way to do that counterattack trick anyway, and it has a better counterattack.
Yeah,
so I'm not against the idea.
Let me run the number real quick on what that is.
I mean, the brokers can also be taken out. They have the same HP. So if we run the combo with the brokers, we're running the same risk with the brokers. And I guess the question is, which one do we care more about losing? And my house said, well, we'd be most unhappy losing the Book of Secrets compared to the brokers.
So the odds of us getting the Book of Secrets one shot using its ability by the Psychic Assassins is 12%, and by Demagogues is 12.5%.
Oh, that's pretty low. Okay.
So yeah, that's the odds of it getting one shot, because the Book of Secrets is effectively disadvantage for an attack against us. So yeah, it's the odds of it getting one shot are 12% from one hit. So I think that's it's not zero, but it's probably an acceptable risk for the essentially 71% chance that we'd get a counterattack.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Those numbers are pretty good.
And how much money do we save if we don't move the commodity broker to Lovelace?
Probably don't. In the long run, we probably don't save anything. It's probably a break even because there's a good chance we'll end up moving both of those units in a future turn.
So if my thought process, and this is where I'm getting a little bit swayed onto moving the commodities brokers, is if we are planning on moving them in a future turn, is this setting up the future turns to be an offensive attack on Vagrant, or at least on Toothum, or is this or where would we be moving these commodity brokers? Because if we move them to Lovelace, they can basically move wherever we could have moved them previously.
Yeah, the idea is that they would go wherever. They would either go help deal with the Vagrant stack if the Vagrant stack went somewhere where we're going to have trouble dealing with it, or they would use the opportunity, if that wasn't the case, to hit Toothum and then fade away again.
Yeah, so ultimately, if we got to think about, so it's just a question of I think it's basically purely an opportunity cost. If we move them right now, we are paying 1 credit to get the commodities brokers to where the Book of Secrets are, and then in the future it would be another credit to move those both of those units to wherever it is we want to move them. So whereas if we didn't move it, if we didn't move it now, it would just be 2 credits in the future to move from both of those planets.
It is literally just a question of when we want to pay the extra credit, and the difference though is the chance of the transit web taking damage going from less than 1% to less than 10%, which I didn't realize the numbers were that far apart. I thought it was closer to 0% with the broker's book combo. I was remembering them wrong. So given that, I think we probably...
The risk
Sorry, say that again,
the attack Tiber.
I'm sorry?
What are you... What you said something about the transit web.
Well, yeah, the chance of the transit web taking damage goes from less than 1% to more than that. It goes to 6% or 8% or something like that.
Oh yes, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Like it's not as good of a defensive combo, or as good as one as I
yeah,
thought it was.
it's definitely the 10 HP is pretty significant because it's very common that a 16 HP unit will soak three attacks.
Yep.
Whereas it's very uncommon that a 10 HP unit will soak 3 attacks.
And to answer the question Aquila was just bringing up, Tiber will actually be better defended with the factory on it than the brokers on it. Because
That is correct, yeah.
Yeah, a factory comboed with the 10 HP unit is better than 2 10 HP units.
So the other thing, though, is, that's correct. So yeah, ultimately, it's the question is, I think we've settled that the church is going to have their demagogue on Tiber, right?
Yeah, the most optimistic distribution of defensive risk here is 1 factory on Lovelace, 1 factory on Tiber, because then both of those worlds have less than a 1% chance of getting base or web damage. And then we have the Marines on AO, and if we were renting defensive Deathless, we could put 1 there.
So if I'm understanding correctly, in that factoring, Heroa has no asset.
No, Heroa has a factory.
I think
Okay.
you
Then you misspoke.
You said a factory on Lovelace and Heroa and Tiber.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it should be
because
a factory on Heroa and a factory on Lovelace. So,
yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, because the difference between a church demagogue and a factory on Tiber and a church demagogue and a commodities work on Tiber is relatively small in terms of risk, but obviously the commodities worker is a much better counterattacker than the factory.
I think I was convinced into thinking about the commodities broker, but now that we're talking about it in the sense of like defensive and the transit web might get hit, I am 100% on keeping a factory there. Like I'd rather that transit web is our lifeblood. We need it.
Yeah, our priority should be making sure the transit web is not going to take a hit.
Did we get it confirmed that the High Church will move a demagogue to Tiber?
I will reach out and double check. Their original thing before they provide us an update was that they were going to move the demagogue to Tootham and the commodities broker to Tiber. And we held a short discussion with them, and they said they were going to at least move the commodities broker to Tootham instead. So I'll see if that meant the demagogue to Tiber or not.
That's important.
Yeah, it seems to me like they implied that was the case because we had discussed the opposite, but we should clarify.
Because if they're gonna hold Tiber, then this seems like a good plan. It won't cost us any more money. It will provide a better defense on Lovelace, and it will make it slightly cheaper next turn.
And as well, since an attack on our planets is a turn 2 thing, it's almost certain that the church would have their defensive ability to use. So it would be it would be better than just a demagogue. It would be a demagogue with defensive advantage.
The High Church has confirmed that was what we meant.
Yeah. And since they'd be rolling with a +2 on their roll because they have 8 cunning, their unit is incredibly strong defensively.
Okay. It seems that we've kind of all agreed, or if I'm understanding correctly from what I can hear, we've all kind of agreed to the pre-tech manufacturer on Heroa and Lovelace and the Book of Secrets on Lovelace.
Yes.
We want to do an official vote in notices just to be sure.
Sure. Yeah. Can we toss up that vote, Xavier?
Are we voting on the commodities broker as well? Or is this just the factory locations? Because I think they're kind of all related, yeah.
I think this is the factory location. Within the commodities broker, it was, from my understanding, it was about switching the factory location of the commodities broker. So this is saying keep the commodities broker where it is, factory go on to Heroa. Book of Secrets goes on Lovelace. Factory stays on Lovelace.
Xavier?
That was what I believe it to be. Yes, I
Okay,
haven't made notes yet.
Yeah, can you set up a vote in Discord just so that we have it there in the notice channel?
Yeah. So can somebody just run through what the vote is, just so I can be double sure that I type it
Yeah,
correctly?
that's fine. So the vote is if we are okay with the movement of one pre-tech manufacturer to Heroa in exchange for the Book of Secrets to go to Lovelace, and then keeping the second pre-tech manufacturer on Lovelace and the commodities broker on Tiber.
Those two separate votes or just one vote?
Just one vote.
Yeah, we could do this separately, but I think we
You could. Yeah, you could.
I think they're related.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
it doesn't matter.
related, and I also think everyone is in agreement. So it's basically for putting it down. Just to make your job easier, Xavier.
There you go. Votes up.
Missing 3 people. 2
There
people.
we go. That's a quorum. I mean,
No,
majority.
you've got a. That is majority. We are missing people from voting though.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering, will that give... Will Heroa still have their assets they want on that planet?
Yeah, as long we want an asset. We don't want what's it called? We don't specifically want the Book of Secrets. We just want to make sure we have something so that in case on turn 2 we get attacked, we're not banking on being first.
Yep, cool.
Okay. It looks like we have a majority or all of it.
Unanimous.
There you go. Now I took out my vote, so yeah, that's now unanimous with a 7 vote for that. So
Okay. Yeah. At this point, it seems that we have the turn. Do we want to? Is my thought process on this is that we'll leave the next faction turn to whomever the reps are, or do we want to put like some thought process as to what we were expecting the next faction turn to be done, or is this like full defensive mode? Whatever happens with Vagrant, we'll figure out, and then we'll sort out the ashes.
I say we come back to it later.
Okay.
Partially because it's going to be really hard to speculate what exactly does happen.
Yes, I agree.
We just be spitballing so many ideas that it may not be worth the time. I think at this point, I think we finished with anything for voting wise. But I think there should be a short discussion for those of us who are interested, mechanic wise, to order these actions in the correct order, so we can take advantage of all the mechanical benefits. That way that way what we hand to Adam is in the correct order and everything.
True. Understand.
So
It seems pretty straightforward. I actually thought it would be much more complicated than this, but it's not. As long as we activate the web first before the factories, we will at that point have the Book of Secrets on the same world as a factory, and can reroll that factory if we want to.
My only question is, do we have enough money to do all that? I'm pretty sure we do.
Absolutely.
we do. We will have 7 fact creds.
Yeah,
I guess
it only costs 1 to do that swap.
Okay. Yeah. Totally.
the question I guess I have is, does it make the mathematical sense to not do a swap, but instead pay 2 fat creds and see if like one, because if the pre-tech manufacturer that moves to Roa rolls like a 1, we can't re-roll that one, but the other one might roll an 8.
I did think about that. We would have to do some extensive modeling to figure out if that was advantageous.
That's too much math.
We can do that off recording.
Yeah, we can do that off recording. It's just, since we're here having the discussion now, I wanted to mark down for the people watching later that, hey, we might go do this thing.
So
I think that if it turns out to be possible, or like to have a positive outcome, yeah, I'm open to that. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
But this is where I'm a little bit not open to it, because if I'm understanding correctly, we have to move everything at the same time.
No. Okay, so clarification on how our transit our transit web works from Adam was we can activate the transit web whenever we want, as many times as we want during a turn, so long as we can pay the cost. It links 2 worlds together, and you can swap an infinite number of assets between those 2 worlds.
So long as the fact creds are paid. Okay.
So long as that one, yeah.
Never mind.
It was an important clarification from Adam. Yeah.
Yeah. My any resignation to this like discussion was hinged on the fact of, wait, does that mean a pre-tech manufacturing does not get moved to Roa? Then I'm done.
No.
Yep.
It would basically in our turn order, we would move a pre-tech manufacturing from move the Book of Secrets from Proa to Lovelace, use the pre-tech manufactories, and then use the transit web again to move a manufactory.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the math may not work. Like, it may only be.
It may just be whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and it may be for like one.
Yeah,
it may just be for like 1 fact cred. So like, is that worth it? Like, but it was, since we're sitting here having this discussion, and it occurred to me as a possibility mechanics wise. So I thought I would throw it out there.
Yeah, it just depends on what the average of the reroll ends up getting us compared to the regular average, and is that going to be more than what's the most we're going to make here? We're going to pay an extra credit to do it. The most we can make is 4, so we're going to get.
I think based on averages, the average of a D8 is.
So here, I did the math on this real quick.
Oh,
so
cool.
it doesn't have. I haven't done the fact that like there's breakpoints that rounds up, but the raw numbers is just 2d8 divided by 2. We end up getting 4. We get average 4.5 creds. With advantage, we average 5.1. So it's like half a cred more.
That's
but
not worth it,
the thresholds might screw with it. I think
Yeah.
best case is it breaks even.
Yeah.
So then
Then it doesn't sound worth doing.
Even if we
No.
win both of those rounding errors, it's still just gonna we'll get 1 extra cred tops. It's not worth doing.
and then you'll spend that cred to move the objects back. So okay, so we've proven with some quick math that that's not possible.
It's just probably not worth it.
So does anybody else here? We've come to the end of our agenda. I think we have a slate. Should we hold a final vote on this finalized slate?
There's one thing, I suppose.
Fast.
If anyone has any dissenting opinions on this, like strong dissenting opinions, this is your chance to voice them, and we'll put like a vote in the notice. My other question is this assetability thing, just because we were in the mention of like moving and stuff like that, is this what we want to like give to Adam as our turns and how they're being laid out in that movement?
We'll make sure that they're in the correct order when we give it to you.
Yeah,
We
totally.
can handle that.
We'll just do a quick review afterwards, but these assets are what we're doing, and
Yeah, my only minor thing is when we should use a reroll. Should use it if we roll a 2 or a 1, I assume.
I would say only a 1.
Only a 1.
if you reroll
No,
on a
2
2,
is the same.
2 is the same thing. So reroll on a 1 or a 2.
I would say roll on a 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I meant, sorry. 1 to 4.
Is it? I guess
Let's
this
try
is
to
an
figure
important question. Does Book of Secrets let you take the better, or does it just you take the results of the reroll?
You take
I
the results.
believe it's the results of the reroll. So it's a little bit worse than advantage.
Which is understandable because you don't really want to
Yeah.
make something that gives advantage.
If you reroll on a 4 or less, then you basically have a 25% chance to do worse, but a 50% chance to do better, and 25% chance to break even.
And
I guess
again,
that's
it's
okay. Yeah.
and it's 1 fact cred if we do worse on a 3 or 4. So I guess the question is, everything activates at the same time. So I guess Adam could roll both of them, and then if either one of them rolls a 3 or 4, we would re-roll that factory. This is where the
Yeah,
activation
Adam-
order becomes interesting.
It depends if we move them. If we do the plan as written, they would be on separate planets, so we wouldn't have a choice.
We would just re-roll the 1 if we could. Yeah, makes sense to me. Okay, does anybody have any final comments they want to bring up for the Synedrium? Any updates from their houses? Any concerns like that?
We are of House Serpens are planning on having a meeting after the faction turn and starting the rep vote immediately, so that the reps can have the most amount of time in the month, so that they're not doing the same thing we're doing, where it's like, oh, I got 2 weeks, oh god, everyone's on fire. So we should be able to get that to you soon. I don't know what everyone else's plans are.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. Let's run through the houses real quick, and if you all know how you're voting for new reps, if you are voting for new reps next month, let's go ahead and explain that process. I'm going to start not for Eridanis, but as the council. If you end up switching reps, so the actual speaker position, let me start there. The actual speaker's position will change like during the faction stream, basically. So when the stream that Adam does ends, the speakership will move to the next house. So in this case, it'll go from Serpens to Triangulum. But the Ivor will keep the admin role in this Discord server for about the next week to help facilitate over the change, because that's one of the roles of the past speaker. And then you know he can be the person you go to coordinate, or the new speaker, who, unless it changes from Triangulum, it will be Hyperbilus as of this moment, and they too can help you all swap in and out with new reps. That's, I think, the important updates from the council. So, do we want to start with House Aquila and your all's voting strategies?
Yeah, we're gonna have a vote for new reps, but I might be back because I was just an alternate for this month. So we'll see how that goes. We should have people in pretty early next month.
Okay, cool. That brings Eridanis next.
We are planning on doing a revote on the second, after the second faction turn.
All right, thank you. House Lyra?
We're already in our voting process. I will not be coming back. There have been a lot of people who have stepped up. So first off, thank you all from the council. I may be back in the future, but for the next turn, I will not. Everything else is up to the votes of the House.
All right. Reticulum.
We don't know what we're doing yet, but I very possibly might be back.
All right. Serpens?
Serpens is voting on Wednesday. It is up to debate whether I will be back or not. Out of good faith and due to us being the largest house, I will most likely step down so that someone else can have this rep role, because it is fun to do, and I goddamn don't want to do it anymore. No, I'm joking. You're all great to work with. I love you all. Yeah.
Peanut butter.
Don't start. We haven't gone through the order. Let me get through the order. Triangulum is next.
Unfortunately, unlike Reticulum, we have no idea what we're doing yet. We haven't even thought about it, which may not be terribly encouraging considering we have the speakership next month. So if you like, we can try to get a vote through before the faction turn actually happens. And that way just have one speaker going forward. But if it's not an issue, we can just have it passed to Hyperbilus and then to whoever we change to.
That's perfectly fine.
Through. I'm just an alt, and I will probably be running for the next speakership, but I don't know who else is, so I don't know who to tell you who to expect.
That's fine. Yeah. The way the speakership is sort of just going to work is we're just going to place it with the house. So whoever is currently representing that house, like pending your all's changes, will just hold the speakership power in the meantime. It shouldn't be a big deal if they temporarily hold it to just transition people in and out of this server.
I mean, the only thing I'm worried about is annoying Adam in having it be Hyperbilus one day, me the next day, because Hyperbilus can't be available, and then have the real new speaker take over a couple of days later.
Yeah, I think Adam was very clear on, because this conversation actually happened because of House Vagrant. Adam is very clear that, like, it's the month you pick the rep, the person who is the rep changes to that, and he's not switching it until the next month.
So then what we will do is we will wait for Triangulum to submit a new person. And it will just stay Ivor in the channel until that occurs.
That sounds good to me. We'll try to throw a vote together sooner rather than later. I just have to talk to Hyperbilus about it first because we just haven't discussed it.
No worries. Pixis?
Yeah, we'll be switching out Anu for a new Rose of the new Orator of the Rose. Voting's going to be happening soon.
Cool, sounds good. So that's all of your houses. So if you're a member of any of the houses, you should know now what the voting procedure is, or hopefully by the time this video comes out, everybody has actually started a vote, because it is coming out a couple days late. All right, is there anything else, or are we good to sign off?
Long live peanut butter!
Just like to
Listen,
amend saying that Pixis is the party house. That's all.
And Lyra is the hottest house. It is canon.
Yeah, but Serpens knows what happens the day after.
I would now like to read the stray wallaby into the record. If there's no.
Okay, let's end it right here.
Okay, bye.
Okay.
Too far.
So this will be the end of the third meeting of the Astral Synedrium. So I will be signing off here as the chair. This is the end of the August and beneficent Synedrium Astral of the beloved Lords Temporal and Eternal of the Psi. I messed it up again at the same point.
Just add another title.
So we'll start over there. The August and beneficent Synedrium Astral of the beloved Lords Temporal and Eternal of the sacred high houses Imperial, servants of the most serene celestial emperor, long may they reign, shepherds of the Acheron Rose sector, and guardians of the righteous, are signing off. Bye, everyone.
Xavier only gets to talk like this because they can say that whole thing.
That's the only reason. Okay.